Welcome to the part 6 of this series, and in this video we are going to be looking at error handling in Python. So what this thing covers is how do you handle errors, because sometimes your end user, people that use your project, people that use your website, people that use your mobile app, they may not give you what you are expecting. They may not give you the kind of value you are expecting. So instead of your program to crash, you need to have a way to control or to handle this error. So let's just do a very simple example. Let's assume you write a program that asks a user for his age, and you want to tell the user, okay, in 2 years time you will be so years old. Let's just do something like that. So I can say age. Let me make the size bigger. So I can say age equals to input. I'll say, what's your age? So when the user enter the age, I will store it as age. So, but I intend to, let me say, age underscore in underscore integer. I actually intend to convert it to integer by passing the age to integer. Then I will say, let me say, future underscore age equals to age in integer plus 2. So I will store it like, don't worry, I will explain what I am doing. So I will increase the age. Then what I will do next is write the message and say reduce the size. Okay, let me reduce the size. So I will say you will be this years. Okay, let me say something like in 2 years time you will be this years old. So what I will just do, I will just come into this bracket here, this thing I have here. I'll put the future age inside this future age. I'll put it inside here, inside this bracket here. So then mind you, when you are doing something like this, you need to remember to always put your F here, which is formatting. I explain it in our string. So that is all. So what I will just do, let me print out the message. So this is a very simple program I just wrote here. So the line 1 asks the user, this input is what you use to get info. I say, what's your age? I explained input in our other class. So what's your age? When the user enter it, is stored to age variable. But this age is actually string. It's string, not integer. I cannot add number to it. So what I do next is that I pass that age through the int function to convert the age to integer. So I convert the string to integer. So I store it to age in integer. So that age in integer is actually, the data type is actually a number, no longer a string. But the one got to here is string. But what I did, I convert the string to integer to store to age in integer. Then what we do here is that I add 2 to that integer. I store it to the variable future age. Then here I just write a message. I put the F string here. Whenever you want to make your text to be dynamic, you put F outside it. Then inside you can put brackets, as in this your curly braces, as anything you want to make dynamic. So this value here is not a fixed value, so it will depend on the value gotten from here. That is what will be filled there. Let me reduce the size a little bit. So then finally I print out the message. So let me go to my terminal to run it. So I will just say Python space part6.py and press enter. So you say, what's your age? So let me enter 16. So you say, let me increase it to more. You say, in 2 years time you will be 18 years old. So in 2 years time I will be 18 years old. Let's just run it again. So let me enter maybe 23. You say in 2 years time you will be 25 years old. So this is a very simple program. But mind you, I'm actually entering number. What about if I enter ABC? So let's run it again. And I enter ABC. and press enter. So you see my program crashes. So you see the program crash. I got error here, value error, invalid literal for int with base this. So what happened is that this int function was not able to convert the age to integer, to store it to this variable. You can see it here. So you see it is in line 3 in this file, in line 3. So if I go back to that, you see it here, this is line 3. So what happens is that when the user have entered the ABC here and store to age, int, which is this ABC that is stored as age here, it cannot be converted to integer. That is why the code break at this line. So the program crashes. So now the reason for try and accept that we are talking about now is a way that you can be able to control the error. You can know that, okay, you can anticipate that this user may not give you the input you are expecting, so they can give you something else. So if they give you, what will happen? Will your program crash? Or if there's a way you can control this error, what will you do? So that is what try and accept is just basically about. So now, if we want to control it, we can put, let me come here. If I come top here, I can say try. So if I should put try here, so you see it, some use cases, you can have try and accept. You can have try, accept, S, finally. You can have try, accept, S. You can have try, accept, finally. So if you notice this thing, there are actually 4 of them. We have try, we have accept, we have S, we have finally. Try is where you put the code, or should I say the block of code that might raise an exception. Now, you don't know whether it can raise an exception or not. But accept is where you now write the code that will run or what you want to display in case an exception occurs. So let me just be showing us. So I can say, let's put this one inside the try block. So to put inside the try block, you just put your colon here. When you put your colon, you highlight this thing and tab, press tab to move it inside. So now it's now inside the try block. So what I will do, I will come down here and write accept, and put colon, press enter. So I will say print, please enter a valid number. So that is just what I will just say, please enter a valid number. So what happens now is this. When try, so try, like what I explained to you, is trying to say, try to do this thing. Try to do this thing. Try to run this code. Except, so except means, okay, if an error occur, what am I going to do? Print this on the screen. So now let's save it and go back to our terminal to run it. What I will do now, let me clear the screen. Then let's run it. I'll press enter. You see, what is your age? Now let me enter ABC that we entered before. It says please enter a valid number. So it did not tell us that, when we run it the first time, the program crashes. But now it's telling us to please enter a valid number. So this is one way we can handle exception. So we have another way, which is using S. So we can say, okay, try to do this. Except is like saying if an error occur, do this. But you can also put S. You can also put S. Oops. Clean this. You can also put S. E-L-S-E. You can also put S like this. So what it's trying to say is that try to do this. If error occur, this is what the except does. If an error occur, do this. Instead of you to display an error, or instead of you to crash the program, do this. S, like if no error occur, do this. So if I want to do something like this, I can just carry this side here. Let me carry this part like this and just put it here under the S block like this. So now it's now under the S block. So this is now under the S block. So we're trying to say now that try to do this. Except probably an error occur, do this. But if no error occur, do this. That's just what it means. So it's still the same thing, but we're just using try except s to just control the flow. So now, so let us run it and see what we are going to have. So remember to always save it by pressing Ctrl S. Then go to our terminal. Let's run it. So I will say, what is your age? So if I should enter 16, you see, it say in 2 years' time you will be 18 years old, right? But now let us run it again. Let me enter ABC or ABCD. You see, say please enter a valid number. So you see, so what is actually happening, like I explained to you, is in try block, you write the code you are trying to run that you know can or possibly give you error, or possibly because your user may not give you what you need, so you are likely to encounter error. So that is what you put in the try block. But in the except block, you put the part that you know if an error occur here, do this. That is what it means. Even in some cases, you can tell the person that this, you can show the person what the person entered. Most form, when you go to website, you put password or you put your username, they can show you that your username is already taken. They will display username for you. So if I want to do something like that now, in this our own case, I can grab this thing and put it up. Let me put it up here. So meaning when the code run, I've already stored the age of the person to this variable called age. So the number the person or whatsoever the text the person enter here, I've already stored it to age. So this variable is available to me. So what I will do, I try to convert it to integer here. So if an error occur, I can give the person that what the person enter is not a valid number. This I'm going to do it. I'll just put my F string here, which is the formatting. Look at the F, I put it here. Inside there, I will just put brackets, like not bracket, I mean this is your curly brace. Then I will put age inside, which is actually the variable the person enter, which is this variable here. I'll put it here. So I want to say this is not a valid number. Then I will save. So now watch. So when it run now, it was whatsoever the person enter, I will show the person that this is not a valid number. So let us go to our terminal again and run it. So now if I say what is your age, if I put ABC and press enter, we show him that ABC is not a valid number. So is that same way it also do when you come into even your website, your mobile app, you put your username, they can check if your username is already existing in the database. If the username is existing, they will display it and tell you that this username is already taken. So something in that nature. So let's just add one, which is the last one, is finally. So if I come here and write finally. So this finally, now mind you, when you really come into real life usage, you will hardly use finally. In short, most of the time you will only use try and except, which is what we really use. Like let me say 90% of the time you will only use try and except. So on very rare occasions, will you use S, because most of this code that run under the S block, you can put it inside the try block. So in most cases, you will hardly use S. But last, we also have, so just for the tutorial sake, that's why I'm going into all this one. So we also have finally. So in the finally block is where you just write something you know will always run. I can just write here, say print, I will say program run successfully. Let's just write it like that. Or you can say program has ended, or anything you want to write. But this place is just where you write what we always run. So anything you put here we always run, we always display. So that is the difference between all these blocks. So try block is where you put what you know that can likely raise an error. Except block is where you put what will be displayed if an error is caught, because now you are anticipating that likely an error can occur. So except block is where you put the message that will display in case an error occur. Then else block is where you put the continuation. Okay, if no error occur here, continue with this. That is just what you do here. Then finally is where you put what you know must run or should run, even though an error occur or an error do not occur. So anything you put here will always run. So now let us save it and go to our terminal and run it. So now if I put maybe 20 now, it show me that in 2 years time you will be 22 years old. Then it show me program run successfully. So this program successfully is coming from where? The finally. So now you see there is no error, right? There's no error. So what about when we write ABC? Let's write ABCD and press enter. It say ABCD is not a valid number, and it also display program run successfully. So anything you put in the finally block must always run. So I think I have taken time to go through all this. I believe we already understand it. So if there's something you do not understand, you can ask it in the comment section below. So, but let me just give you, or let's just do one more example that you will likely meet even as you are developing your web project. You will likely meet. There are some times that you need your user to give you just email. So although I have not talked about function here, but at least I know in the course of this training I'll be talking little about function. So there are sometimes you can need your user to give you email, and your user may not give you the right email you want. So how do you validate if this email the user give you is right or wrong? So I can say something like validate. So let's just call it validate email. So don't worry, I will explain everything that is going on here. Let me just write okay, not in email. So if it's not in email, I'm going to raise the value error. I'm going to raise the value error. I will say invalid email address. So okay, so this is just a function. Don't worry, I will explain everything that I'm actually doing. Let me just write it. Let me see inputs. Let me see, okay, enter your email. Let us enter your email. Then what I will do, I will pass the email to the validation function. Don't worry, I will explain everything. Let's see, email is valid, then accept. So if an error occur, don't worry, I will explain, because you are likely to see something like this as you are developing projects. So let's just leave it like this. Okay, I'm introducing a function, and we have not really talked about function, but just for me to give you a likely use case that you come across. So now we normally know that the pattern of an email address is something like, let me say an email address, let me say email underscore address is something like let's say james@gmail.com. So although I don't want to talk about public email, private email, but Gmail is a public email because everybody have Gmail. So we have private email. Maybe here is your domain.com. Maybe it can be maybe let me say jav.com, you know, something like that. So let me say your domain name, your domainname.com. So different things just like that. So if your domain name is CodeHux, now you can have CodeHux.com here. So these ones are private email, but that is not the reason for this class. So I just want to show you how can you know that this is an email or not. So an email must have ads. This ads must be in an email, and this email will, and this at will separate the domain name, which is on the right hand side, from the probably the username, which is on the left hand side. So now we want to be able to validate that the email the person enter is a valid mail. How do we know? So I just wrote a function. This is like a custom validation thing. So I just wrote a function. When you want to write function in Python, you start it with def, which is like you are defining a function. So, and what follows is the name of the function. So this validate underscore email, name of the function. If the function needs something for it to run, you write the variable name. So this is the variable name it needs for it to run. So you can also call it argument. Argument is like the value, or you can call it parameter. Parameter is also the variable name. But when I get to function, I will explain these things to us. So then you put your colon there. Inside it, you write what you want to write. So what I use there, I say if, which is a conditional. I think our next class is conditional. I will be explaining if and not. So if at not in email, so I'm trying to say that, okay, if this is not found in what the user enter, raise this error, so show the person invalid email address. So now this is just a custom validation I wrote here. So from this line 8 to here, what I just do, I just say try. So when the user enter his input, which you already know what this line is doing, this is just the input we have explained before. So anything the user enter here will be stored to email. And I told the person to enter his email. So when the user enter, I pass the email, which is what the user enter here. I pass it to this function, which is validate underscore email. Now, mind you, this part is not compulsory, but if you find it kind of tasking, you can still skip this one and probably come over it another time when we have done function. But we're just trying to make this class as practical as possible so that you will be seeing most of the things you will meet. Once we get to the Django, get to where we are developing website, you will see most of these things in action. So now we say email equals to input, enter your email. When the user enter his email here, we store it to the variable email. This same variable email, we pass it to the validate function, which is this function. We pass it to the function, and if you pass through, it will print email is valid. But if it's got an error, which is this exception is caching it, we are going to print out the error for the user to see. So if you print out the error, you can as well write anything you want to write here, just like we did here. And you can as well, you can even show the person the email the person enter. You can say this is not a valid email address. You will show the person. So let's save it and go to our terminal to run it. If I run it, let me clear the screen. So now let's run it. Now I say enter your email. So if I should enter Isaac at CodeHux.com, it said email is valid. Because why? There is at there. Now let us run it again. Instead, let's enter just Isaac. It says invalid email address. So you see it. So this is just how it works. This is just how it works. So this Isaac now is invalid email address because why? It's from here it raised this error. It raised this error, invalid email address. So that is just basically everything that you need to know, at least for this try and accept. Like what I said, there are just like 4 blocks: try block, accept block, else block, and finally block. And try block, you put where you want to run that will likely result to an error. Accept block is where you write the code or what you want to display in case an error occur. Else block is where you write like a continuation. If no error occur, continue with this code. So continue like continuation to this part of the try block. So run this code if no error occur. Then finally block is where you write the part that must run even though an error occur or an error do not occur. So I'm going to see you in the next class.